So to follow up from some more testing I was doing, I'm wondering about that 90 psi cranking pressure. 120s in the manual, so it's disappointing in some respects that the compression is a little lower than what I'd hoped. I'm going to check to see that the seals around the pistons are sealed pretty good. I put a couple of squirts of lightweight oil into one of the cylinders there. If the compression really doesn't change that much at all, that generally means that the seals on the piston are good and your compression is what your compression is through the valves and how well they're closing and doing whatever they're going to do. And there's also lurking around the possibility that the engine could have the low compression option. There might be a spacer there in the head that just drops the compression down a little bit, and that's why every cylinder is equally at 90. But anyway, let's go ahead and crank it here and see what happens here on the dial. That is exactly as it did before, which is actually a really good sign. That means your pistons are sealing equally and that it's the same everywhere, and that adding oil into one of the cylinders there didn't improve the seal. So we don't have leaking piston seals. We have what we have in terms of the compression. I'll take the valve cover off and then I'll take a look at the valve adjustment just to be double sure that this is what it is. So here is the valve cover off here. Right here is where oil comes up and in to lubricate and run down through here, through all the different passages that are there. And it's not horrifically sludgy or anything in there, so I think it looks like we've definitely been oiling through the years. I've got some gasket maker and I'll have to redo that gasket. I think it's been done before, but anyway, I'm gonna wind up checking. I've got the flywheel cranked around to upper dead center, and over here in the manual, if you can get things lined up on that upper dead center 1 through 8, you can actually go through and adjust all your valves here if according to the table here. So off the number 1 cylinder, when it's firing, you can get all these ones done, and then over here when the number 8 is the cylinder that's firing, you can do all of those. So anyway, I'm going to check some valves and see how it's doing. Alright, pretty fascinating. So I kind of went very extreme here on this for a moment just to show. There's the oil passage, that little hole right there in the ball stud. I've got it backed way out and there's ridiculous amounts of play there. But you need to screw this in until that hole there is at least halfway down into the rocker arm, because that's an oil passage there. You actually screw it down until you get rid, I mean, it says just get rid of all the valve play, or all the lash. And then you go down 2 more, and it said counted out in the manual, 2 more turns past that. So I'll have to play around with this until I've eliminated all that, just eliminated it. It has to go down, that oil passage needs to disappear at least, halfway down into the rocker arm, and there's probably a shroud around there, but I'll line up that hole so that it's there with the passage that you can't see that's drilled into the rocker arm. I wanted to get some good oil going through there, and I'll do that with the other one. This is the exhaust here. This one's the inlet. And after I'm done adjusting, I'll check a compression, and if there's no difference in compression, then I'm going to assume all the rest of those are just fine adjusted, because every cylinder had the same compression. Okay, here's our moment. We have the compression tester hooked up. I have reset the hydraulic lifters, and we will see if we get any change in compression at all. None. No change. So, the valves are adjusted correctly. Well, I spared you all the fun of removing very old, very bad Cork gasket, which then had additional black RTV sealant placed on top of the Cork gasket to try to make that work. Anyway, it was all scraped away completely, and both the valve cover and the surface were taken down to nothing with the help of Grant, and scraped and cleaned and dried, and we have a new says high oil resistance Permatex product for making a gasket maker. So hopefully that will seal that up and might even fix a little bit of oil drizzle I had going down the side of the motor if all really goes well. We'll see. So while we were doing our other work, another package delivery came, and it was the spark plug wire kit that I bought. These are actually remarkably short spark plug wire runs to the distributor. So no one really makes a straight 8 right out of the box spark plug factory terminated kit. Not unless you're to go to some other specialty shop that charges ridiculous amounts just for spark plug wires. So I just bought one of the cut your own length kits and lumened my own stuff up here. So, and that suits me just fine. So I guess summarizing everything here, we are points, condenser, timing, coil, wires, plugs, valves for good measure. That's pretty much a complete engine tune-up, and it was running really good yesterday. It was running, idling really good, and it was accelerating and running around, so I'd say that's pretty much tuned up, with the exception of maybe I might do some carburetor work. It's running well enough, though, that I may very well just leave well enough alone. It's not running badly. So I wouldn't mind it idling down just a little bit lower, and I might take a look there to see if there's some very easy, straightforward adjustments for idle. But otherwise, I'd say that's an ignition and timing and, firing tune-up done. And to boot, I've actually got the parts that I need ordered for the automatic transmission and the seal that goes in the back. The original car torque tube setup, they came out with a replacement set of seals and other things because they were leaking pretty soon. Believe it or not, I think the original seals were leather. But anyway, I don't believe that leather is in there, but then again, it could be. So anyway, we'll just go ahead and do the right thing and get better torque tube seals put in there. And taking out the rear end of the car is part of it, but believe it or not, that's supposed to be not that big of a deal. Disconnect a few lines, a few bolts come undone, and let's hope that it's just as easy as what I just said right there. Haha. We'll see.